There's a moment in every real transformation when everything seems still, not because nothing is happening, but because something invisible is shifting beneath the surface. It's that strange space between chapters, where the old life no longer fits and the new one hasn't fully formed, where your mind is restless, but your body is quiet, where time feels slow and the air feels thick. And if you're here, watching this right now, maybe you're standing in that exact moment. It's not confusion. It's not failure. It's not even being stuck. It's what happens when the quantum field is holding open the door to another version of you, but you're still carrying the weight of who you used to be. Most people never notice this crossroads. They keep moving from one task to another, one goal to another, trying to force momentum because stillness feels threatening. But the field doesn't move by force. It moves by frequency. And the truth is, no matter how hard you try to think your way forward, you can't enter a new future while your nervous system is still memorizing the past. This isn't about positive thinking. It's about quantum matching. Because every version of you, the one who's healed, the one who's free, the one who's aligned, already exists. They're not somewhere far away in time. They're right here, vibrating on a different channel. And that's the paradox. The future isn't something you chase. It's something you tune into. But tuning in requires one thing most people avoid: letting go. Letting go of who you had to be to survive. Letting go of the fear that became your comfort. Letting go of the patterns that once protected you, but now limit you. This is the secret no one taught you in school. The quantum field doesn't give you what you want. It mirrors what you are. And as long as your body is still anchored in old pain, in old stories, in old survival codes, you will keep manifesting a future that feels exactly like your past. You don't need more information. You don't need another technique. You need to remember the field is listening, not to your words, but to your signal. And right now, that signal is either a memory or a choice. Before we continue, if this is resonating with something deep inside you, a part of you that's been waiting to be seen, to be understood, I invite you to gently support this space. Give this video a like so the message reaches others who may be standing in the same space you are now. Subscribe if you feel called to walk deeper into this journey with us. And if something touched you, leave a comment. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. Now, let's go further. There's a reason it's so hard to move forward, even when your mind says you're ready. And it's not because you're broken. It's because your body is loyal sometimes to the wrong story. You see, every experience you've ever had left an imprint, not just in memory, but in muscle, in breath, in posture, in response. That time you were rejected. That time you were told you weren't enough. That moment you had to hold it all together because no one else could. Your mind may have moved on, but your nervous system hasn't. That's why when an opportunity arises, something inside you shrinks. Why? When love gets too close, you feel the urge to pull away. Why peace feels unfamiliar and chaos feels like home. The body doesn't operate on logic. It operates on repetition. It memorizes what you feel most often and begins to treat it as truth, even if it hurts. And this is where science meets the soul. Neuroscience shows us that 95% of what we think, feel, and do is driven by the subconscious. That means only a tiny sliver of your day is led by conscious intention. The rest? It's pattern, program, predictable output from familiar inputs. So when you try to manifest a new life from the same emotional baseline, from the same fear, the same self-doubt, the same unworthiness, you're just ordering the past in a different package, because energy doesn't lie. You can say you want love, but if your body's still bracing for heartbreak, the field won't match you with connection. it will match you with distance. You can say you want freedom, but if your nervous system is addicted to control, you'll keep attracting cages that look like safety. This is why people feel stuck. They're trying to access the quantum field with a signal that's rooted in survival. But the field doesn't open for force. It opens for coherence. And coherence means alignment between what you think, what you feel, and what you embody. It means your thoughts of peace are backed by a nervous system that's actually at peace. Your visions of abundance are supported by a body that no longer flinches when receiving. Until that alignment happens, your mind may reach, but your reality won't shift. So the question is no longer, what do I want to create? The real question is, what version of myself do I need to become so I can stop reliving what I never chose in the first place? We've been taught to see the past as something behind us, a timeline we've moved beyond. But the truth is, your past doesn't live in years, it lives in your reactions. In the way your body tenses when the phone rings, in the breath you hold when someone raises their voice, in the need to over-explain yourself when no one even asked. These are not random habits, they're echoes. Echoes of moments your system couldn't fully process, so it held on to them, not to punish you, but to protect you. The body is brilliant at survival, but it's not great at knowing when survival is no longer needed. So it keeps looping the signal, keeps sending the same alert, even when the threat is long gone. And if that signal isn't interrupted, it becomes your personality. That's how trauma hides in plain sight. It doesn't always show up as breakdowns or dramatic moments. Sometimes it looks like being the overachiever, the perfectionist, the one who always says yes, even when you're crumbling inside. But here's where quantum reality changes everything. Your identity is not fixed. Your patterns are not who you are. They are who you became in order to survive a reality that no longer exists. And in the quantum field, there is no time-only frequency. So when you feel that old fear, it's not just a memory. Energetically, it's now. Which means every time you unconsciously react from your past, you collapse into the timeline that matches it. The version of you that's healed, that's vibrant, that feels safe receiving, that version exists too, right now. Not as a fantasy, but as a frequency. You can choose if your body is willing to release its grip on the past. But that kind of release doesn't happen by talking yourself out of it. You can't simply affirm your way into a new reality while your cells are still carrying the vibration of the old one. Healing is not just intellectual. It's cellular. It's not about forgetting what happened. It's about no longer being defined by it. And that's when the shift begins. When you stop trying to fix what's broken and start listening to what's still holding on. Because the parts of you that resist the future are usually the ones that didn't feel safe in the past. So the work isn't just about creating a new life. It's about creating a new signal, one that no longer says, I must protect myself, but instead says, I am safe enough to receive. And when that signal changes, the field listens. Instantly, there's a moment quiet but powerful when you finally see it, not the surface level frustration, not the situation you keep blaming, but the loop beneath it all. The loop that's been silently running your life like background noise. The loop that says, love must be earned. Safety comes from control. Joy isn't safe because it never lasts. You don't see it right away. Because these beliefs don't show up as sentences in your mind. They show up as sensations, as habits, as automatic no's and invisible walls. But one day, maybe after another painful pattern repeats itself, you pause. And instead of reacting like always, you notice something deeper. A hesitation, a flicker of memory, a strange feeling in your chest that says, this isn't about now. That's the moment everything begins to change. Because the moment you become Aware of the pattern, you are no longer fully inside it. You're watching it. And if you're watching it, you can interrupt it. Not by force, but by presence, because the pattern survives in speed, in automatic reactions, in never questioning where the discomfort comes from. But when you slow down, when you bring breath, when you meet the trigger with curiosity instead of shame, you change the signal, and the quantum field listens. This is how the shift begins, not with a dramatic awakening, but with a simple moment of awareness that breaks the trance of repetition. And here's where science meets spirit again. Neuroscience tells us that neurons that fire together wire together. But the opposite is also true. Neurons that stop firing together start unwiring. Which means every time you witness a pattern without feeding it, you weaken its power. Every time you choose presence over reaction, you reclaim energy from the always past. Energy you can now direct toward a different timeline. So no, your future doesn't begin with a new job, or a new relationship, or a new affirmation. It begins the moment you realize you are not your reactions. You are the one who observes. And from that place, you can make the most powerful decision of your life, to stop reliving and start remembering who you were before the pattern began, because that version of you is not gone. It's waiting right now on a frequency that already exists. And the field is listening. Your future isn't far away. It's not hiding in 10 years or 10 steps ahead. It's here now, waiting for you to match it. This is where most people misunderstand manifestation. They think it's about doing more, becoming more, fixing what's broken so they'll finally be worthy of the life they desire. But the quantum field doesn't work through effort. It works through resonance. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And what you are is not just your thoughts. It's the total signal your system is broadcasting moment to moment. Your emotions, your body language, your posture, your breath, your energy field. So if you want to shift timelines, you don't need to wait. You need to embody. That means feeling now what that future version of you already feels. Before the money arrives, before the relationship shows up, before the healing is complete. This isn't delusion. It's physics. Because the field doesn't separate between imagination and reality. It responds to vibration. So when you become the one who has already received, with every cell, every breath, every silent belief, the field mirrors that version back to you. But here's the hard truth. You cannot fake your frequency. You can say the affirmations. But if your chest is still tight with self-doubt, the field will respond to the tension, not the words. You can visualize abundance, but if you still flinch at the idea of being seen, you're unconsciously choosing smallness. And so, the real work is not about creating a fantasy. It's about releasing the residue of the past so your system can finally hold the frequency of the life you say you want. This is alignment, not perfection, not constant positivity, but energetic honesty. And it begins with one question. What am I actually embodying right now? Because that answer is your current timeline. If the field responds to frequency, then the nervous system is your tuning fork. It's the bridge between who you've been and who you're becoming, between memory and possibility, between survival and creation. But here's the problem. Most people are trying to manifest a new life with a nervous system stuck in old trauma. They want peace, but their body is addicted to adrenaline. They want expansion, but their breath is shallow. They want connection, but their heart is armored. And that's not a character flaw. That's physiology. Your nervous system was wired by every moment you were afraid, abandoned, silenced, or shamed. It learned how to keep you alive. And it did its job well, but now you're no longer in the same story, and the patterns that once protected you are starting to suffocate you. So how do you shift? You begin with regulation, not with vision boards, not with hustle, not with high performance, with safety. Because until your body feels safe, it won't open to anything new. It will stay loyal to what's known even if it's painful. This is why nervous system work is not optional. It's foundational. Coherence is the state where your heart, mind, and body are in sync, where your breath slows, where your chest softens, where you're not racing toward the future. You're already in the frequency of it. In coherence, you don't chase alignment. You become it. And when you live from that place, you start to experience synchronicities. Things begin to move, not because you pushed, but because the field recognized your signal. This is the moment the invisible becomes real, where life starts reflecting a new version of you, because you finally stop negotiating with the old one. You're no longer leaking energy to old wounds. You're reclaiming that energy and pointing it toward creation. And creation doesn't start in the mind. It starts in the body. When your nervous system says yes, the field responds in kind. Let's be honest, most people aren't stuck because life is unfair. They're stuck because they keep choosing familiarity over freedom. Not consciously, of course, but energetically. Because even when the past hurts, it's known. It's mapped territory. It's the devil, and the unknown. That's terrifying, because it doesn't come with guarantees. It doesn't promise comfort. It only promises possibility. And for a nervous system trained for survival, possibility feels like danger. So they stay in relationships that drain them. They scroll through social media instead of facing themselves. They rehearse the same thoughts that sabotage them. They dream quietly, but act cautiously. They wake up with the same heaviness in their chest, not because there's no other way, but because their body believes that staying stuck is staying safe. But what if the truth is simpler? What if the past isn't holding you anymore? You're the one still holding it in the tightness of your jaw, in the clench of your fists, in the way you say, "I'm fine," when you're breaking inside, in the breath you refuse to take fully, in the dream you bury under logic. It lives in the words you don't speak, in the apology you give for simply existing, in the silence after you say yes when you wanted to say no. No one is going to come and unplug you from your old story. That's your responsibility now. But don't confuse responsibility with punishment. This is an invitation, not to fix, but to free, not to force, but to feel, not to chase, but to choose differently, because you don't need to solve the whole story. You just need to stop rehearsing it. Stop identifying with the pain as if it's who you are. Stop feeding the loop with your focus. Stop telling the universe, "This is me," when what you really mean is, "This is who I learned to be when I had no other tools." Because the quantum field doesn't care who you were. It only responds to who you are being now. And every time you choose presence over panic, softness over strategy, breath over bracing, you're telling the field, "I'm ready to let the past go. I'm available for something new. I choose possibility over protection." And the field listens, not with ears, but with energy. It's reading your body, not your words. It's matching your frequency, not your performance. And maybe for the first time in your life, that's enough.